So, welcome to Deanna Hansen's 21-day program with block therapy. My name is Wendy Stevens, and I want to welcome you warmly. We are here tonight to begin the 21-day program over a 4-week time period. And those dates are tonight, the 15th, then we're going to get back together for week 2 on the 22nd. The third week is going to be the 29th, and then we'll come around the corner of the new year on January 5th. So tonight, we are giving away a 3-day luxury block therapy retreat. Someone live on the Hangout tonight. You've got to be present to win, so stay to the end of the Hangout. But someone's going to win a $3,500 luxury retreat in the Bahamas. Deanna will tell you more about it in just a minute. But first of all, we've got to give away a prize and acknowledgement to a gal that heeded the last call on sending in her photos and her measurements. And her name is Rhonda Sigda, and Rhonda has won a free Skype block therapy session with none other than Quinn himself, the master. Rhonda, congratulations. You're going to have the block therapy team reach out to you, schedule your Skype session. I just had one with Quinn myself last night. And by the way, his calendar is going to fill up, ladies and gentlemen. And if you want to book Quinn, make sure that you dive into tonight. So Rhonda, congrats on your Skype session. Everyone else, if you haven't yet gotten in your photos and measurements, you want to do it because you can win a trip to the Bahamas. So go to 21dayswithdeanna.com. Steve, you're going to bring up that slide. It's 21dayswithdeanna.com/measurements. And right there, you're going to be able to enter your measurements like mine, 36, 22, 36, and then take 3 photos. Follow the instructions. Deanna's done a simple video. And Shazam, you can be in the Bahamas. Now, we're all here for Deanna and for block therapy, so I want to do a proper introduction. Again, my name is Wendy Stevens, and I'm coming in tonight from the Bahamas, which is where I first spent 9 priceless days with Deanna and Quinn. And if you want to be able to have an experience to really transform your health, I am the person that was looking for that kind of a transformation. Drugs and surgery left me on an open heart surgery table for real, and I was looking for a real way to turn around breathing issues and anxiety, and Deanna was gracious enough to demonstrate to me that block therapy was real, that her community is real, and the genius that she's taken from 20 years as a certified athletic therapist. She literally had fluid isometrics, the science behind what you're going to hear about tonight, bring her back to life. And she put it into that beautiful block that you're going to hear about, and has created this for all of us to be able to self-care and self-heal. So Deanna, it's week number 1. This is the visionary, the founder of Fluid Isometrics and block therapy herself, coming in live from Winnipeg with Quinn right there by her side. Deanna, come on out here, my friend. This is your Hangout. Take it away.
Hi, everyone. First of all, Wendy, thank you so much. I just have to share with everybody that when Quinn and I went to the Bahamas and spent those 9 days with Wendy at her phenomenal place, it was truly magical. And what an opportunity for me to get to know this incredible woman who is marketing genius. She's just changed everything for us. And for me to have my hands on her for 8 days and really transform her body was one of the most amazing experiences. And Quinn, you were there, and I remember you actually saying to me that this can't even really be real. What's happening? Didn't you say that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It was hard to believe.
It was hard to believe. So we are so excited to be able to share with you a program that is simple to do, easy to follow. And what I wanted to do tonight is share with you how to do the position so that you feel really safe and you understand what you're doing and why. So I'm going to be explaining everything, and I'm going to have Quinn be the guinea pig to show us exactly what we're going to do. So Quinn, if you could just lie on your back. Now, when we approach this 21-day program, there's only 3 positions we're going to do per day. And the very first position we do every time is always the same, and it's right at the belly position. And there's a reason for this. When we learn how to properly diaphragmatically breathe, it changes everything in our body. And at the end of the day, that's really what block therapy is all about. It's teaching us how to get back to this phenomenal mechanism of proper breathing. When we breathe diaphragmatically, we feed the body 600% more oxygen. So Quinn, I just want you to do some diaphragmatic breathing so everyone can see where the breath should be coming from. Notice how the belly rises and falls. The reason this is so important is because at the base of the lungs is where 70% of the oxygen receptor sites reside. If we're breathing up through here, we're not bringing the air deeply enough into the lungs to truly absorb proper amounts of oxygen. So now, Quinn, if you can just show people how most people breathe by moving the chest here. So often we're told to hold the stomach in, or we feel we want to have a flat belly, so we hold here, and that forces us to breathe up through here. But actually what happens is that causes us to collapse into our body, into our core, causing the belly to extend outward. So it feels a little funny at first, shifting the way that we breathe, but this is going to change everything about your life, your physiology, how you look, how you feel, how you function. So Quinn, now what I'm going to get you to do, we're going to get you to take your block and we're going to demonstrate the first position that we're going to be doing through this whole program. This is really, really simple. So now, if you can all do this with us, I'd really like you to experience how it feels and the pace and the tempo of the breathing. So the block is right on the belly button. So if everybody can just even feel where your belly button is, that's where you want to have the block. And when you're coming into this, just take care when you're coming in. If you have to start up on your elbows, that's fine. But if you can go all the way flat to the floor, even better. Now, if you don't actually have a block yet, just lying on your belly and breathing into the floor will be enough for now. But once you get this, you're going to see how incredible this is and what a difference it makes. So when we start with proper diaphragmatic breathing, we want to use the block as a prop. So with the block here, you want to move the belly toward the block or the floor if that's all that you have for now. So I hope everybody's lying there in a nice, comfortable position, breathing nicely. And what we want to do is strengthen this muscle. We don't want to be breathing fast, shallow breaths. We want to breathe nice and slow and controlled. And the longer and the slower that we can actually take those breaths, the stronger the diaphragm becomes. So for the first minute or so while you're in this position, I want you to focus on the inhalation phase of the breath. That's going to help us identify where these muscles are. Because so many people have been collapsed for so many years, sitting in front of the computer, working on their phones. We don't even really know where this muscle is for some of us. So this is going to help us identify that. And then after you've settled in and you've found where we're breathing from, we want to shift our focus to the exhalation phase of the breath. Now, this is the most important phase of the breath. And the reason is when we're exhaling, the diaphragm is literally lifting us against the force of gravity. Also, when we exhale fully, we're moving the byproducts of functioning, the negative emotion, essentially the past, out of our body so we can be present and inhale fully and be in the moment. And this is where peace lives. So for anybody struggling with issues with anxiety, depression, this is a fantastic way to really connect to yourself and to start to feed yourselves properly so that they can feel calm and relaxed. So now, as you're in here for a while, you might feel some interesting sensations. You may feel a pulse. That's the aorta. And if it's too uncomfortable to be flat, again, Quinn, if you can just come up onto your elbows. And for some of you, this may even be too much. If you want to start on a mattress, that's totally fine. And if you can't even do that, again, just breathing into the floor just to help identify where those muscles are will be enough to start. So with every position in this 21-day program, in the ebook that you're going to be receiving tonight, I'm asking that you hold each position for 5 minutes. Now, if you want to extend that and go a little longer, that's totally fine. A minimum of 3 minutes, though. If you just jump on the block for 1 minute, that's not going to really be long enough to connect into that diaphragmatic breath and really get the melting effect of that frozen fascia to create those shifts and those changes in the body. So Quinn, I'm just going to have you come back down again through here. So now if you notice when he's breathing properly, you can actually see his back rising. That's what you want to go for. We want to focus on exhaling as fully as possible. So after you exhale, you can even squeeze the belly small a little more, almost like you're doing a bit of a crunch. So you exhale fully, and then you want to really focus on squeezing everything out so that every in-breath is full and clean. So now I'm going to give the mic over back to Wendy, and I'm just going to have Quinn stay here and breathe for a little bit of time.
Yeah, stay there and breathe, Quinn, you know, since you're putting me through the paces all the other times. And by the way, if you want to enjoy a virtual Skype block therapy session, priceless one-on-one with Quinn, with Heather. In fact, we've got some group classes, Deanna, we're going to talk about. But right now, make sure, you got to play the game to win. A lot of you don't know, I was a Division I coach, or at least I was a has-been, but you got to jump into play. You've got to go to 21dayswithdeanna.com/measurements. You can win a trip to the Bahamas. I mean, if I turn the picture around here, which I won't do, but if you look at 21 Days with Deanna, those pictures of Deanna and Quinn are right there in my backyard. It's beautiful. Deanna and Quinn want to take you to have dinner at the beach, but you got to play to win. So go to 21dayswithdeanna.com/measurements. Okay, I'm excited. You know why? Because Deanna, as you know, I lost 7 inches in 7 days. That is real. And we have people that are ridding themselves of chronic pain, anxiety, depression, sculpting their bodies. This is all about you guys, but we want you to win. Someone tonight at the end of the Hangout is going to win the 3-day luxury block therapy retreat. Now, you have to submit your measurements, make them up like I did, 36, 22, 36, but you have to take real pictures like I did and drag and drop them, or you can email them. It's right on 21dayswithdeanna.com/measurements. Now, Deanna, if someone doesn't have a block, I've got somebody asking me here in chat right now. If you don't have a block, I want you to go to 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks. There are 3 different ways you can get your hands on one. First of all, I just reached back and get my hands on one. I didn't even plan that, by the way. But we also have some simple ways that you can get a block, some virtual classes to get to participate with Quinn. Quinn, it's awesome. You kick my tush every day with the block, and it brings me back to life. Thank you. It is 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks. One block is 99 Canadian. You can get a package B that is awesome, and it is 3 virtual block therapy classes along with a block and a buddy band, Deanna. So I'm going to pass it back to you. Talk about the buddy band and conscious breathing, and I'll let you take it from there.
Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to instruct you all how to come off safely off of the block. So we always want to exhale through the movement. So Quinn, if you can put your hands under your shoulders and then slowly exhale up off the block. Beautiful. Now, you can just stay right there because I'm going to get you right back into another position. So what I want to go through is we have about 15 different positions through the 7 days, including this first one that you're going to be working with. So I just want to go through some of those so that we can explain what they're going to benefit and how to get into them safely. So Quinn, let's do the right lower rib area. So now again, when you come into this position, just take care getting in. The most challenging thing is getting on and off the block. Once you're on the block, it's all up to you. Your breath is your guide. So we're actually searching for pain here. And with your breath is how we demonstrate in ourselves how far we can go. So if you're on the block and it's hurting you so much that you can't breathe in a relaxed way, then we need you to back off. And that may mean working on the mattress. So you can also very slowly go through some movements. We actually want to become pain seekers. Pain tells us where there's restriction in tissue. And restriction in tissue is the cause for pain, aging, and disease because restriction blocks blood and oxygen flow. Now, the buddy band, this is a wonderful tool because what this does is it reminds us throughout the day to continue with our conscious breathing and with posture. And one of the things you're going to be learning in the 21-day program as well is some postural improvements. So you'll notice here that the block is right on the right lower ribs. And this is all very well demonstrated in your ebook with pictures and with explanation. So what's really interesting is right underneath here is the liver. And a lot of people have fatty liver disease. So this is a fantastic way to melt those fats that have become frozen in the liver so we can mobilize them and we can get rid of them from that position. So now, Quinn, I'm just going to have you very safely and slowly come up off the block. So put your hands under your shoulders, exhale up off the block. So now you notice everything is very conscious with our movements. We don't want to do anything too fast because it's all about respecting your limits and respecting your body. So now I'm going to have Quinn demonstrate a side rib position. This is another one of those areas that we'll be focusing on, so on your left side ribs. So we're going to have the block right around where your shoulder blade is, right in through here, and this is a really important area. So now notice when Quinn's getting on here, he's getting in nice and slow. He's supporting his head here. You can bring your hand all the way down to the floor. You can rest your head on the floor, and you can even prop your body up with pillows if you need. And again, if this is too painful to start, first do it on a mattress. That gives you a little bit of cushion so it's not quite so intense. And again, you're going to be here for about 5 minutes, so it's all about focusing on the breath. We want to connect that full conscious exhalation with the movement, because as we exhale fully, we're actually heating from inside, combined with the pressure on the block, heating from the outside. We're creating that melting of that frozen fascia so that we can release the restriction and we can start to own our proper posture again, feeding cells properly with blood and oxygen. Now, Quinn, when you're here, how does it feel?
It feels, well, once you spend time here, the initial pain you notice, it starts to subside. So the more time you spend here, it actually feels warm, and it actually, it's going to sound funny, but it actually, for me, it feels comfortable.
Yes.
And I actually enjoy this.
And the reason is the pressure fibers are larger in diameter than the pain fibers. So when you initially get onto the block, it can feel a little bit painful, but as you stay there with the breath, those pressure fibers kick in and the pain starts to change, and often people describe it as a good pain. Now, one thing I just want to share with you is it's called a rib release. So as we are working our entire rib cage through the 21 days, we're going to be going through shifts in our posture. And this is what we want to do, because we want to go from being frozen in this slumped forward position to being able to lift the rib cage up out of the way and to access proper diaphragmatic breathing. Sometimes what happens is the scar tissue will release in the rib and it will open. And that's a good thing. But sometimes it can feel a little bit painful. And for some people, it's felt quite painful. So this is one of those things to be aware of, not to be scared of. It's called a rib release, and we're going to be talking about it through the 21-day program a little bit more. So if anybody has any concerns about this, you can email us and we can explain it further. So that's just something to be aware of. Now, again, one of the most important things is coming up out of the position. And we always want to do things very slowly and very consciously. So notice when Quinn is coming up now, how he leans forward into that right hand with the exhalation, slowly comes up out of the position. So if you do things very consciously, you minimize any chance that your body might go through a shift that's too fast. So that's the reason for doing this. So Wendy, how about back to you?
Beautiful. Quinn, that was awesome. Thank you so much. In fact, we want to go out and actually hear from someone else in our community. And by the way, it looks like we've got almost 100 people in the hat. We're gonna pull out someone's name that's gonna win a block therapy 3-day luxury retreat, but you've got to send in your measurements, so make sure you do that. It again is 21dayswithdeanna.com/measurements, but right now I want you to get to hear from someone real. Cole, you are also jumping in the Hangout from Winnipeg. Come on out here. What was happening for you really with your health, with your body before you found block therapy, and then what happened for you?
Well, I'm a typical Canadian that loves to play hockey 2-3 times a week, and we call it fat man hockey. It's all the old guys that used to play. And you know what? Totally decompressed. My shoulders got to a point that I couldn't even sleep at night. Like I would sleep for an hour, hour and a half, turn around, I get this shooting pain. So I went to the top specialists in Canada, and they did an MRI, and they said, Cole, you've got calcium deposits. It's going to be surgery. The surgery isn't going to be so bad, but you know what? You're going to be out for like 5-6 months. So I reached out to Deanna and to Quinn, and I said, what do you guys think? And they said, listen, give us 2-3 months. That's the last thing you want to do is go for surgery. The recovery will take you forever, and they'll never. Once you cut muscle, you'll never get back. So lying on the block wasn't exactly what I wanted to do. So I went to a few classes. Deanna worked on me. I went to Quinn's classes, and I cannot believe how after the very first time, the release that I had in my shoulder, and the first class of an hour and a half, I slept right through the whole night. Like it's incredible. So, doctors, I don't know, they just don't want to buy into a program with a lot of the deep tissue and therapy. It's always easier to maybe just, perform some surgery and you'll be better. But I tell you, thank goodness they convinced me, and I tried it, and I'm spreading the word to everyone, and it totally decompresses you.
Well, Cole, you made an incredible point. We have to face it that institutions, right, don't support, because they can't be in business. If the human body could really heal itself, then they're kind of out of business. So, the truth is not everybody wants to hear about it, but what's beautiful is how many people, Cole, like you, have had a brilliant before and after. So, thank you so much for coming out. I know how much you have going on over there, but I've also met you, and I've actually shook your shoulder, and I know how 100% you are. So thanks so much for jumping out here. Yeah, and we're going to actually, we're going to go over to someone else that's had incredible results. We're going to go over to Tina. We have Tina on the line. Tina, I know you've got a beautiful Christmas tree in the background, but Tina, you also, could you share where you were in your health, in your body, when you met Deanna and block therapy, and what happened for you, Tina?
Oh, well, when I met Deanna, I was actually just at the end of my second round of 1 year of treatment for hepatitis C, and I was very, very sick, poisoned. It's like chemo. So luckily, I met her just before my treatment finished, and I started block therapy, and just how it releases toxins in your body, I began to recover and get rid of all those chemicals in my body a lot faster. And it helps to regenerate hair and skin, making it more healthy. And I needed to grow my hair back, and it's great now, love it. But another thing it did is, as a result of being sick and losing a lot of weight, I had a completely flat butt. And Deanna told me, if you sit on the block, you'll be able to have a nice little bubble butt. It'll pop it out. It's just frozen fascia. It's frozen flat. And I didn't believe her, but I did it. I sat on that block every day faithfully, and my butt became the talk of the block therapy class.
Well, congratulations. You can bring all different kinds of things back to life, Tina. Thank you for sharing. And by the way, your hair looks fabulous. And congrats, Tina, because I personally know you've touched and moved so many people all around Winnipeg and Canada for all the work that you've done and all the ways that you've shared block therapy and bringing it to life as well. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate everything that you do. So listen, we're going to go back to Deanna in a second. If you've got to get your hands on a block like I did, in fact, I just delivered a baby block to a friend here in the Bahamas tonight. Bunny got her block. Deanna, thank you so much. Go to 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks. You can get a single block. If you want to jump in and do a virtual class like Bunny and I did with Quinn last night out by my pool, literally, we had Quinn up on Skype, and Bunny and I were on our blocks, and it's absolutely unbelievable. I also had a shoulder issue. As Deanna knows, I was quite a little javelin thrower when I was younger and was an athlete, and I didn't have full use of my arm when I met Deanna. In fact, the night that I met her, and she offered that she could help me, and I wouldn't let her touch me, I was like, okay, well, you can show me what you can do, but just don't touch my broken wing. And of course, Deanna and I zinged footballs around the last time that I was up at the lake in Winnipeg. And that's how real block therapy is. And I was super skeptical. There are videos all over YouTube. If you go and take a look at block therapy in YouTube, you'll see some incredible array of people with amazing before and afters. And Deanna, I'm not going to deify you, my friend. However, I want to thank you for 15 years being down the rabbit hole, 40,000 hours in other people's tissue, so that you understood and knew what that marbled, scarred tissue felt like. And if you could share for just a moment, for people who are joining us really for the first time, What happened that night that you had the worst anxiety attack of your life and you dove your hand and you discovered what you did? Can you share with us what happened that moment before you go into your next piece, please?
Absolutely. That first night was one of the most terrifying nights of my life, and it turned out to be the most magical night of my life, because in the midst of that anxiety attack, reactively, I dove my hand into my abdomen, and it was crazy because in that moment, I didn't actually know if I was breathing. I thought I was going to die. I was literally frozen with fear. So as soon as I connected in, I felt pain. But the pain brought me out of my crazy thinking. It brought me back to the ground. I knew I was breathing. I knew I was going to be safe. But what was really interesting for me as an athletic therapist, again, understanding scar tissue in other people's bodies, I recognized that my belly was marbled with this same scar tissue, yet I hadn't had any injuries or surgeries there. So suddenly all these realizations were coming, like, no wonder when I come back from a 5-mile run and I'm dripping wet with sweat, my belly's still cold. No wonder nothing's changing. In fact, the harder I worked, the bigger it got, because I continued to collapse further. I used to do 400 sit-ups a day to try to make my belly flatter, and it actually got bigger and bigger and bigger, and my chronic back pain was increasing, and my issues with constipation, anxiety, and depression were increasing. So that moment has changed my life forever, because I knew I'd found a solution. I knew I'd found a way to work through everything. It was after the second day of me working in that tissue when I stood up and I went to the mirror. I started to cry because my belly was flatter than it had looked in years. So speaking of that, the next position I want Quinn to demonstrate is the right anterior waist. So Quinn, let's get into this. This is one of my favorite positions. And the reason is, now, when we get into this, you want to be cautious getting into this, because the block is going to literally be between your hip bone and your lower ribs. What happens over time is our rib cage literally collapses into the core, and it takes away the space for our hourglass figure, for the organs to function properly, and as we collapse in, we extend outward. So by putting the block right in through here, we're melting through that tissue that is sealing us out of alignment, again with a force of 2,000 pounds per square inch. So imagine if you've been in front of that computer for 20 years doing this, we can't just lift the rib cage up out of the way and start breathing diaphragmatically. This is what's going to create that release in that tissue so that we can lift that rib cage up and we can get back to heating our body properly so it's fed and clean. So now this position feels amazing. It's a little challenging to get in, especially if you're really collapsed, because you might actually have the block sitting a little bit on the bone. Now, we also have the block baby. So we actually developed this for kids, but there are some areas of the body that people prefer to use this, and this would be one of them, because for some people it's a little bit intense. So again, if it's too much for you, you can do it on the bed, and that will just give you a little bit more cushioning so it's not so intense. But the really great thing about block therapy is you are in control of how much pressure you apply into the block. Nobody's telling you how far to go. You use your breath as your guide. And if you don't like what it's feeling like, you back off and you do it less intensely. So as long as you're breathing, you are feeding and healing your tissue. And that's why we really want to always connect in to that full conscious exhalation. Now, I'd like you to just close your eyes for a moment and exhale fully, imagining that your belly button is making contact with the front of your spine when you're exhaling. That's what we want to imagine. So when we're breathing properly, the diaphragm is moving up and down in the body this way, giving the organs a continual massage, keeping the aorta, the main artery, leaving the heart, supplying the entire body with blood, keeping it aligned properly, and keeping your heart and your lungs fed and clean as well. So it's so important to have proper alignment. And this is one of those really phenomenal positions to not only change your health, but to also change the appearance. So before I started this whole work, I had 50 extra pounds all stuck in this area. And again, I was working hard. I was running, I was doing Tai Bo, I did aerobics, 400 sit-ups a day. I kept getting bigger. You can only imagine how frustrating that was for me. As an athletic therapist, I knew what I was supposed to do, yet nothing was working because I was frozen. So when I started this self-work, it changed everything in my life. So this is truly one of my favorite positions. After you've been in here for a couple of minutes, you might feel that you want to go a little deeper. You want to become a pain seeker. So we're not sliding on the block. We're simply going through some micro movements, and you're following the path of pain. Pain is your guide. Pain equals restriction. So we don't want to fear pain and pull away from it. We want to embrace it and move into it, but with the breath. Again, your breath is your guide. So now when we come out of this position, these lower ribs, they're called floating ribs. So we just want to be very careful and move very slowly. So again, put your hands under your shoulders, take a nice full inhalation, and as you're ready, you exhale up and off of the block. And then one other position that we're going to have Quinn demonstrate is the sternum position. And there's two different ways that we can approach this one. So Quinn, if we can do the one on your knees first. And really this one is whatever feels better for you. So now you'll notice when he's doing this that his knees aren't far away from him. They're fairly close. I personally prefer this position because I feel I have a little bit more leverage and control of how much weight I'm putting onto my sternum. Now, Quinn, if you can put your hands under your shoulders and exhale up. And let's demonstrate the other position. And again, these are both covered in pictures in the ebook that you'll be receiving. So now, basically, your sternum is a big flat bone right through here, and fascia loves bone. It's attracted to it, it grips to it, it adheres to it, and it seals us with that 2,000 pound per square inch force. So again, if we've been in front of a computer, we have all this tissue locking our rib cage into this position, affecting our ability to breathe. And actually what I'm going to get Quinn to do is put your hands under your shoulders, come on up. And Quinn, I would love for you to share the experience that you had doing this position.
Absolutely. Well, this was when probably 2 years ago, and I was just starting block therapy. Deanna was still teaching the classes, and I was suffering from chronic bronchitis for months. And I remember in class at school, I was having like literally cough attacks for 5-10 minutes. I had to leave. I was on all these fancy puffers that I'm not too sure, but they weren't helping. Nothing was really working. So I was new to block therapy, and we were doing the first head, neck, and arms class. So we were doing the sternum, and Deanna was explaining how important it was to exhale fully and to become conscious of the exhalation. So I took that to the extreme, and I was exhaling as much as I possibly could out. And there was wheezing, there was weird noises coming, but I exhaled until the wheezing wasn't there. And I did that with every single breath in the sternum position. And then literally, I came up to Deanna after the class, and I'm like, my wheezing's gone. It's 100% gone. And Deanna's like, well, that's great, that's great. And then the next day, I woke up, and it was just starting to come back. So I knew this position worked, so I went right back on the sternum, did it for about 5 minutes, and did the same thing, focused on the exhalation, focused on the exhalation. I got off, and no word of a lie, it was 100% gone. I threw out my puffers, I called Deanna, and I started cheering because it was affecting me. I was having cough attacks. I was supposed to be playing hockey, and I couldn't fully, so yeah, it was pretty, I was sold instantly when that cleared up so fast.
And for me, I used to suffer from asthma, and I used to use a puffer to run. And before, I was so collapsed in through here. I had had a breast reduction when I was 22 years old. I'm 46 now. And all of the scars had adhered to my ribs and locked me in this very negative forward position. So working the rib cage, especially that sternum area, is so amazing because it helps to create a release so that we can lift everything up, move the shoulders back, get back to proper diaphragmatic breathing, and truly change every aspect of your health. Wendy, back to you.
Well, you know what, Dee, I'm actually going to share my personal experience, and then we're going to go out over to David. So, you know, Deanna, when we met, of course, I was frightened. I had spent a lot of money. My dad was head of medical school. I was taught that, like, medicine was the answer, and it doesn't take a lot of life experience, I guess, to finally get to the end of your rope where you're looking for a real solution. And I was having trouble breathing the weekend that we met, actually in Phoenix, and you were kind enough to offer that you had something that was real. And so if you're here for the first time, I really want to encourage you to dive in and commit to all 21 days of the program. I'm not a paid endorsement. In fact, I haven't been paid a dime. I'm here because I'm a real fan. I know it's real. I lost not just 7 inches in 7 days, but Quinn, my blood pressure is going down without medication, my friend. You're part of my accountability by showing up on Skype with my buddy, Bunny, actually, because not only do I have my block buddy, and nothing comes between me and my block buddy now, but doing it with a friend in a virtual class. You can take your block buddy, your block baby, and your iPad with you anywhere in the world and plug in globally with Deanna, leading all of us back to life. And then with a world-class group of teachers, of which, by the way, we're expanding rapidly. We're looking for terrific people that can take block therapy, really take it to heart, and be able to take care of your own health while you're transforming others. But I have my shoulder back, Dee, as you know. I got my shotgun shoulder back. I'm literally, working on just bringing the rest of my body back into sync, back into alignment. So I'm super grateful. If you would love to be able to come in and join us, actually, Deanna, your sister's coming it's the next block therapy retreat. Quinn's coming. We have a whole cast of fabulous characters and amazing people that are going to be there. And someone tonight is going to join Deanna live. You'll have a priceless dinner on the beach with those two. And believe me, dinner with Quinn on the beach is hilarious, especially if we go to a certain place. And Deanna usually starts dinner with chocolate cake. I'm not kidding, she does that. But you know what? She can process and breathe, and it makes so much sense. And so I want to invite you to jump in. If you know someone that you'd like to join us on blocking around the holidays and enjoy the banquet table, your friends, family, while you're lowering blood pressure, reducing stress, and sculpting a body and life you love, then go to 21dayswithdeanna.com/blocks. You can get just a block, a group of classes, a DVD, a buddy band that reminds me all the time to breathe from my diaphragm. But Deanna knows they stuck a chest tube right through my diaphragm when I had open heart surgery. And when it healed, I healed with obviously a knot and the fascia linking in there. And so, the block and being guided by Deanna and Quinn is allowing me to release that diaphragm so I can actually breathe the way my body was meant to. Now my organs can function. Now everything's coming back into sync and alignment. And if you would like to come back into alignment, we want to invite you to join us. Come, make sure that you're here on the 22nd, the 29th, and the 5th of January. Get a block. I fall asleep. Deanna, I was telling Bunny, I put the block baby, Quinn, we were talking about this last night, right behind my neck. I fall asleep that way every night because it helps me get centered, grounded, and breathe, and I go to sleep much more quickly and easily. So, Deanna, we're going to go over, I believe it's David. David, are you out there, big guy?
I certainly am.
David Marr, come on out. You own a wellness center, is that right?
It's a wellness company. I sell skincare products made from Dead Sea minerals, and I'm now also involved with fluid isometrics and block therapy.
Beautiful. So what was happening with you in your own body when you bumped into block therapy itself?
Well, I actually met Tina, and she was telling me about it, and I've had trouble with a shoulder with a rotator cuff for probably 10 years. I used to play hockey. I was a goaltender, and I injured it and never really found a way to fix it. When I met Tina in September, I get shooting pains down my arm, and I went to the Pan Am clinic to see a doctor, and he did an x-ray and told me that I had probably a torn rotator cuff, but there was also something else going on in the joint, and that I also had a pinched nerve in my neck. So he told me to go for some physio for my pinched nerve, and that I'd have to wait 6 months for an MRI for my shoulder. And it keeps getting worse, and I can't sleep at night. I get horrible tingling, like, when your foot falls asleep, that tingling you get? Mm-hmm. I get that down my arm daily. Mm-hmm. And I went to one class with Quinn, and he'll tell you I was swearing at him in the class because it hurt so much. But I had no pain for 2 days after the class.
Beautiful. Wow, congratulations. I have
my block buddy right now behind my back in my chair.
Beautiful. Fantastic. Congrats.
I also like to use it when I drive, I find, because it helps your posture, and But the big thing I also find too is that your flexibility really increases. I've always got tight hamstrings and calves and tightness through my shoulders and my back. And when I went to the first class with Quinn, I tried to bend down to touch my toes, and I was probably 3 inches off the ground. And after the class, I was able to put my palms flat on the floor. That's
Wow.
how